When it comes to EVE Online, every player wants to know the most effective tactic available. You want to know the meta. The meta controls everything. It determines what will and will not happen. Knowing the meta will alter your views, make you question your reality. It might even make you laugh. And now, you're part of it. You're watching The Meta Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of The Meta Show. Today is April the 24th. It is Saturday. It is a fireside edition this week. We are joined by our typical fireside crew, Merkel Chen and Anominate, and of course, me and the Matani.
So, as you guys may realize, I am wearing a Snuggie. We are preparing, and so we're about to go into a little bit of Herfler serious business stuff before we get back with the fireside. But you know, we were preparing an economics show. We're going to do it next week. We're going to have a bunch of panelists. It was a lot more work than we thought was going to be going into it. So we'll be talking about that a little bit through the show. But if we couldn't do that, we were like, we're going to just do a fireside. I don't know. And I'm like, fuck it. I'll wear a Snuggie if we do a fireside. So here I am. I'm wearing
an angry
Snuggie.
Black Snuggie, though, right?
It is, of course, my Snuggie is black, and you know, I've got. It's actually kind of hard to put the thingy up on that. So this is like one of the kinds that has a hoodie on it, and it's very efficient. I like it. So yeah, let's go into it. You fireside-y thing, Briss. You get the football first. Why don't you?
All right. So first football, we're gonna do our obviously fireside show today. We got a couple things to talk about, guys. A lot of what we're going to talk about is what we feel like talking about, which is going to include a variety of topics. As long as we don't get into anything that involves like airplanes, I think we'll be okay. We did that last night on Merc Stream, and it was a little crazy. So we're going to avoid the airplane topic tonight. But one thing I did want to point out is today is the first weekend of the Anger Games. Anger Games are going to be running on the EVE stream. We're waiting for them to get started. Hopefully they get started before the end of this show. If they do, we will go ahead and raid them. But we want you guys to take it on. It's finally, we're going to get to see some Alliance tournament type stuff. It's the first big tournament EVE's run in a couple of months since the Alliance Open. So we're looking forward to that. Sothrasil and Dirk and the guys are all going to be over there doing that and having a good time. So we hope that you guys will enjoy watching that. Tune in this weekend for that. And then they'll be on as well next week. And then the only other thing I got is we got CSM elections, but we can talk about that later. We've got at least one candidate. Hopefully we have 3 candidates for the CSM on the show. Hopefully we can tease out from my co-pilots here whether they're running or not, because they haven't made any public statements yet.
Tell you what, Brist, I may fuck around and get elected. I'm not sure.
All right. Okay. All right. Fuck around and find out. That's how we're going to do it.
Yeah, I don't know. If I get voted in, I get voted in. That's
okay.
We'll see how it goes.
We're at that point of, well, if you guys do it, then we'll do it. But in any event, Mittens, there was a couple of random things that happened. There's nothing too crazy. I know.
I'll take it from you if you want.
Go ahead. I'd like to pass off the baton. So you can have the speaking trumpet.
Last time we were here, and I was not in a Snuggie, and we had guests from CCB on the show. We had CCB Swift and we had CCB Rattati. And I was in simple Mittens interviewer mode, you know, just asking questions and trying to find out some stuff. And as a result, I couldn't pay as much of attention to chat as I would normally do if we were just more casually shooting the shit. So I kind of wanted to get a chance to hear from people that watched the show last week and watched that interview from now that people have had time to sort of have that percolate through to get an impression from people in chat. Like, how did they feel about that? Was that a situation where they're like, the economy is headed in a direction, like, you know, it was mostly econ stuff and production stuff and all of that discussion, in addition to the oops, we deleted the asteroid belts and broke all the officer spawns. Whoops. Situation. So I wanted to get a chance to hear from people. And yeah, I see some comments about Gobbins' strategy for 1DQ1. We might briefly touch on some of that. Horde had a town hall a little bit before this. It happened. There wasn't really all that much news in that as far as I was concerned. But one of the things that came out, and one of the reasons why we were preparing an economics show for next week, and so what you guys can expect when I'm not in a Snuggie, is Angry Mustache, I'm sure some of you guys have seen this already. It popped up on Reddit a couple days back. Did an analysis of CCP's Consumer Price Index, right, the CPI. And perhaps unsurprisingly, once some digging was done in this, it was uncovered that it appears, and I could be wrong, and we're going to get some people who actually know their way around finance on the show to tell us what's actually going on. It appears that whatever system that CCP is using to balance the economy is about as accurate in terms of indexing as when they ran some metrics on the CSM and determined that almost all their null-sec CSMs actually counted as high-sec CSMs, right? Like there are concerns now when you combine the show last week with what Angry found with the CPI, right? So for example, Plex simply shouldn't be in a CPI, right? It's an external indicator that's not really part, like, it has value, but it's not really part of the CPI. And the bias in that data was resulting in people, their lived experience playing the game is shit's getting way more expensive. There is a supply crunch. Things are really kind of weird and fucked up. But if you look at CCP's metrics, it's just, oh, hey, well, because the Plex is in there sort of floating that. So I'm a little worried about that. I'm worried about it because it is always a bad sign when people are tinkering with the EVE economy. And if it turns out that their fundamental baseline metrics that they're using to determine this stuff, from an Imperium perspective, it's kind of weird. And, I've not really been sure whether I should take this to the skies and talk about this or not. But one of the fucked up things here is like, we haven't really settled on how much a Titan's going to cost. Right, like we don't necessarily know how much a Titan is going to cost in the whatever speculative thing that CCP is suggesting they're going to do, but we can run numbers. When something turns up on the test server or on Hobo Leaks, our finance people, who are the ones that like solved the EVE economy, like for the last 4 years, I don't know shit about this stuff, right? I'm a spy guy, I'm a metagame guy, I'm a demagogue. I get up here in a black thingy and I herf blurfs and whatever. That's my role in this sort of wrestling game that we're playing. But the finance guys unquestionably solved the EVE economy, right? When I say the finance guys, I'm referring to the Imperium finance crew and specifically the guys in Goons Farm who are like super, super hardcore. But, we all share our secrets with each other because we're a collective, as it were. The Imperium finance crew solved the economy. And looking at some of the numbers that they were looking at to sort of speculatively to price out on the back of a napkin what was the fucking Titans going to look at. For a little bit earlier this week, our math said that CCP had Titans at like 700 billion ISK. And one of the reasons why they had it is because they hadn't accounted for production jobs. Or the production costs or some sort of shit that I don't understand here. Some sort of extra external cost that wouldn't turn up on the loss mail, but would go into the process, like indexes. I don't need to know this. We're going to have experts on the show next week. But then it seems like they kind of realized that something was fucked up, and then they went it down to 350 billion. If a Titan is going to cost 350 billion is to produce at the end of this shit, it's just like, what is I'm worried between that and from an Imperium perspective, we've got the most Titans. So if they're going to cost 350 billion is to produce, we can just keep the things parked until the war is over. If the bad guys are not going to use Titans to attack our Titans, which I prefer they would, I would like to have Titan fights, right? But if they're going, oh shit, Titans are going to cost 350 billion, we're going to park ours, which is sort of what Gobbins seems to have just said on their town hall, that they're not going to bring supers into 1D key 1. They're going to go full coward mode, which is not really a huge surprise. And also at this point, I can't even really say I blame them, because if we don't know moving target wise, how much is a fucking Titan going to cost at the end of this thing? And it doesn't seem like CCP has any idea. Like I'm just worried, right? It's a lot between that and the CPI thing that Angry posted. It's like, ooh,
well, this is the problem.
What's going on there?
This is the problem. Okay. Nobody has any idea because nobody knows where the market's going to end up. We don't know what else they're going to do. And the point about the production cost is 100% valid. We were looking at this, and essentially the way that production works to start a job, the cost to start the job is indexed to the cost of all the items in there. So the more the items cost, the more the job costs. So when the changes first rolled out, and you had all of these really expensive capital parts that hadn't really got a market yet, the job start costs were insane, like 50 billion to start production on one part of a capital. And that's just the nature of what happens when they add stuff that's not indexed, that's not in the market yet, and it takes a while for it to shake out. But even doing the back of the napkin math, where we expect that these numbers are going to end up in a couple of months, absent some kind of changes, yeah, everything is going to cost double from the battleships on up. Below that, it'll be fine, but above that, it'll be pretty crazy, and we don't know how this is going to turn out.
It's the lack of rioting that concerns me, and I'm not sure whether it's because the changes themselves are so obscure. I think that people just don't realize what CCP is doing, and we don't realize. We're trying to figure it out ourselves as these things go. But you know, it is concerning, because one of the things that we discovered in the blackout, and one of the things that we discovered before the blackout during some of the CSM drama, is that CCP will rely upon metrics, and then will turn out, lo and behold, that the metrics that they were relying upon for something that they totally had confidence in turned out to be horseshit. Right? Oh, we ran an analysis on player demographics, and we figured out, this is a classic. So if you haven't heard of this one before, this happened just a couple years ago. CCP was talking about their demographics and saying who's a high sec player, who's a null sec player. The CSM was asking about this. This is all in the minutes from I don't remember which CSM it was, maybe a couple years ago. Mirko, Nam, you guys were there for the
last year.
So they ran their scripts to see which players were what as far as their metrics were concerned, instead of high sec players, null sec players, low sec players. And it turned up that the null sec CSMs, according to the CSM, according to CCP's metrics, counted as high sec players. And they were all null sec people, very much null sec.
The dangerous thing about data is that databases don't speak English. So you have to translate the English question into something the database understands, and it's a lot like translating between natural languages. A lot of the times, when you try and translate something to another language, like you can't. It's just untranslatable. So you have to change it to something that makes sense in the other language, and you run into that a lot when you're dealing with databases, where the question you're actually asking is not quite the English question that you're asking. And it's important to sort of back translate that to realize what it is you're actually looking up.
Yeah, there are a lot of layers of irony here. Some comments from chat. Sorry, guys, I asked for reactions in chat, and then I haven't actually gone back to them. But
I have a reaction if you guys want to see it.
Sure.
This is my favorite reaction to last week's show. This is from a gentleman who I believe is in our coalition. This is what he had to say about the show. He said, "So Brisk, are you running against Oz and Matterall over who would get to be Rattati's lover, partner in crime, and head propagandist? Maybe we should hold a YouTube event where you guys can fight to the death and the winner gets to kiss Rattati's ass all day long."
Oh, God.
Apparently, we didn't ask the hard questions last week. My request to you guys is, what did we not ask last week that we should have asked? Because I felt like we did a pretty good job of trying to, pin the cloud down. But it was pretty clear to us that, based on the questions that we asked and everything, Rattati was doing his best not to say.
Yeah. If CCP comes on the show, I'm not going to try to ram a spike up their ass on live TV, right? Like getting these guys on the meta show in the first place was something that I was surprised and pleased to have. I asked a bunch of questions. I did not try to own anybody during the interview. And, it's one of those situations where it's a cross-examination, right? And if people are mad that we weren't mean to CCP on the interview, why don't you tune into next week's show when we'll have a panel of economic experts tell us exactly why we should be mad at CCP and for what, with data to back it up. A couple other comments here. This relates to like the scarcity thing and the length of it. I was asking this in the Illuminati meeting earlier, is when did this shit actually start? Because we talk about ending scarcity, this, that, the other thing. Time's been a blur because 2020 plague, hey, it's 2021 now, I guess. It all feels like it's still 2020. But if you count all the way back to drifters and blackout, you're looking at somewhere between June and September of 2019. And one of the comments I see here in chat is that one of the reasons why you're seeing people, people aren't angry. This was one of the comments in Scrollback. One of the reasons why people aren't like rioting about stuff is in many cases they're quietly unsubbing. Right, they're just waiting. The environment of and so it's a regulatory risk thing, right? And this has nothing to do with the war, right? In fact, in many ways, the fact that the scarcity thing has happened has enabled the Imperium to succeed because nobody in Eve can make money. So the fact that we had the biggest stack of poker chips at the start of this fucking thing meant that we had an inherent advantage, especially now the Titans are going to cost so much more. So cool, whatever. But like June or September of 2019. And that's what really kind of got to me. It's like, we've been busy with the war. or I say we, I mean, if you're watching the meta show, if you're part of like the nullsec political game, even if you are invested, maybe you're not a leader, but maybe, you watch these Twitch streams, you want to herf blurfs about war, you're engaged in the nullsec thing. While CCP has been doing the nullsec scarcity shit since July or June, or the blackout, and then the drifters, and then nerfs to ore and blah, blah, blah. All of that has kind of been aimed at nullsec. You could even say a lot of that has been aimed at the Imperium if you wanted to be conspiratorial, but it has mainly been nullsec focused. And the only other thing that's really been out there that's not nullsec focused, hey, we moved some isogen to lowsec, is the Triglavian shit, which then just got sucked off into POCVin and forgotten about by 98% of the player base. So like, while we in nullsec and on these nullsec talk shows are like scarcity this, scarcity that, how does it impact the war? It kind of coming out for air, looking around and going, what has the rest of the game actually gotten during the scarcity period? Because it really does kind of seem like there was the trig stuff. So, I mean, hey, in chat, was there anything else that's cool that was added did Middens OD on the Adderall before the show? I'm in a fucking snuggie, dude. If I want to scratch my balls and drink, I am drinking green tea, which should hopefully result in me being awake. That is one of the advantages of wearing a snuggie, is I can literally just scratch my balls here and nobody has any idea whether I'm joking or serious. Formations, yeah, we got formations, ESS, we got the trig stuff, and one of the things about the trig stuff that's so ridiculous is that it pissed off all the role players. Like, the target market for the trig stuff were the guys who joined EdenCom, like the dudes who were really invested in the role-playing Empire faction warfare stuff. They were the EdenCom guys. They were set up from the beginning to fail. Nothing that they did really mattered, and it all got sucked off into POCVin. So like, where did basically, what the fuck has anybody gotten since June?
I got the red dot fixed. That's what I got.
That's right. You got rid of something that was ugly and awkward and annoyed us, which means that you're a fucking hero. But we're, can we get some stuff that's, not ugly, awkward, and annoying? Like, Jesus Christ.
That's the hard.
Anyway,
I would give them,
I've herfed my blurfs. I'm gonna fucking, scratch my balls and drink some tea here.
I would give them a little bit of a break on the EdenCom versus Triglavian thing, because that's sort of a large scale in-game story arc. It's something that CCP is new to. They've never really done that before. And yeah, they I think they screwed it up a little bit, because it's clear that the company was on the side of the Triglavians. Like, that's where they were throwing the content. That's where they were throwing the skins. The marketing material, all Triglavian focused.
Mm-hmm.
Go to the like the Eve store, and there's a whole bunch of Triglavian stuff. There's no EdenCom stuff.
Mark, you seem really angry.
I think that's something that they'll do
this.
better next time.
Are you angry, Mark? You have an angry scowl on your face. You look mad.
Are you kids almost done with your fucking math homework? Can we go outside soon, for fuck's sake? I can't take too much more of this shit. Nam, I never pictured you as a fucking Sun Tzu guy, but that databases don't speak English bullshit clearly was in the art of war. Look, you've just spent 30 minutes talking about what hasn't happened. That's unfucking believable. Is this really what we've been reduced to today? Like, we're at the end of a war that's been going on, a war of erasure for over a year now, and we were just told, no bullshit, straight face, looking in your eyes during a town hall, if you're expecting a big fight, you're going to be disappointed. Is that how this whole fucking thing ends? Are you kidding me? What was the goddamn point of this bullshit? If what you wanted to do was prove to the Imperium that the entire game could gang up on them for a fucking year.
We kind of knew that already.
And they would bend and never break. You've officially set us up for the next 15 years of success, because we know all we got to do is stick our head under the ground for a minute, ride this bullshit out, and we're going to just march along and continue. That is it. I'm just stunned. I'm sorry. I listened to that. It ruined my fucking day. I started thinking anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I don't want to interrupt that with my cackle, but it's true.
We're never going to stop you when you're ranting.
Gobbins thing. Yeah, it was. I didn't listen to it. I had people listen to it for me, and I read their reports, and it was just like, they got also, like, can we just say here, 560 people on a fireside? You call that a fucking town hall? Like, that's, that's cute. But, whatever. Yeah,
well, to
it's
be
just
fair,
pathetic.
they only have 20,000 people in their alliance. I mean,
well, they're saying that this is the impact of the Titans thing and everything else that CCP is doing, right? Pappy has to storm 1DQ1. right? They've got to fucking attack 1DQ on, or they have to look like bitches for eternity. And they are going to look like bitches for eternity because they've behaved like bitches for almost a year now. And brace yourselves. I've been watching some Gundam. I've never gotten into Gundams, and I started watching Gundam: The Origin. And so we're getting to the point here where we can make 1 year war references. But unlike that extremely nerdy thing,
our boss is an anime enthusiast, apparently.
No. Anime is cartoons, Delve is goons. That Gundam's separate category that I'm just making. But yeah, man, it's super fucked up to be like, we were waiting for this Goblins town hall, and like before the show, I was like, we're looking at this, and it's like, should this even be our top story? So I'm gonna just sort of slide through this so everybody can suffer and be bored. If you're expecting a massive fight, then I think you will be disappointed, unquote. We'll have another town hall.
That's so inspiring.
That's the
that
quote.
was in Sun Tzu too.
How do you start a town hall on that kind of a downer? Like, guys, the thing that you've been waiting for, this big giant fight to take out 1DQ, yeah, it's not going to happen.
The embarrassing thing about this war is that for all of the success that Pappy has had, and like this war, this has been an unmitigated success for them. And it has been bad for us, and this is objective truth. But somehow they've managed to create a situation where if they can't take our last system, they still wind up looking like bitches. Like, how badly do you have to screw up your own narrative to get in that kind of a position?
I mean, that is the thing that I have to laugh the most about. I mean, beyond anything else, we get accused constantly of caring more about the narrative than about the game, or caring more about the narrative than our space, or whatever like that. But the reality is, the narrative and all of the rest of that stuff is about morale. It's about keeping your guys' morale up, because if they want to keep doing this, they're going to keep playing. And we're going to get to this in a little while. Activity numbers across every group in the game are down right now, because this war has been going on for a year. And it is the most boring fucking thing I think most of us have ever been through. We get more excitement on a drunk roam on a Friday night where maybe Merkelchen gets blown up by a gate camp because he forgot his interceptor wasn't fucking InstaWar. That's more exciting than the last 2 weeks of what's been going on in Delta.
Okay, here we go. It gets worse. Final assault on the 1DQ on Keepstar. I doubt there will be supers dropped, especially as we know server conditions cannot be relied upon. And one of the things about this is you could read it as these guys are pussies, right? That these guys are cowards. But the other aspect of it is, in addition to the strategic overreach of T5ZI, which, I mean, who knows? Maybe 1DQ1 is going to get completely rolled and everything else I've said will be wrong. But I think T5ZI is an overreach. I've always said that. I still believe that. That having those nodes being right next to each other is, just mechanically speaking, you can kind of see them sort of like laying the breadcrumbs foreshadowing wise for saying, well, we wanted to do this, but fuck CCP. Right.
That is a very critical point. And I think if you guys did not hear the town hall, if you don't have notes like Mittens, if you're cribbing them off of Reddit like I am, because I don't have any spies, and I'm not paying anybody for a ping relay. So I'm going off of what we're seeing that's public that everybody else has. The one thing that you see multiple times, over and over and over again, in the town hall today, and in the overall, Pappy discussions about the war, is they understand the servers better than anybody. They still fucked up M2, but they understand all this stuff better than everybody. And they're concerned about node deaths. They're concerned about server stability. They're concerned that we're never going to be able to do a super fight in 1DQ because goons just have too many numbers. The servers can't handle it. They can't do this. They can't do that.
103 blue alliances, motherfucker. What do you think was going to happen?
But that's the thing. And in the end, this entire war started, in my opinion, because Pappy, like everybody else in this game, loves to do the thing that people claim is impossible. And it had gotten to the point where everybody looking from the outside looking in said, there's no way anybody's ever going to be able to take Delta. When the reality is, everybody in the Imperium knew it was completely possible to do that because it happened to us before. What you do to beat a group that's really big, that has a lot of stuff, is you get everybody else that doesn't like them together. And if there are more of those people than the bad guys, or the good guys in this case, you're going to have a good chance of winning. And that's what they did. So they blew 2/3 of the game. And I want to show you guys this because I think this is pretty important. I want you to look at the SOV map right now. Okay. This is the daily SOV map. This is the SOV map in the game as it stands right now. Okay. Look at this. From here to here, all the way around. This is all controlled by Pappy and their friends. All of it.
But goons
That's
want
what
to
it
turn the
took.
server into Serenity.
That's
Meanwhile,
Serenity doesn't even look like that.
Yeah.
I mean, look at fucking Serenity. This is Serenity. You want to see Serenity? It doesn't look like this. There's less. Let me clear off my stuff here. Look at this. There's more solid different groups in Serenity than there is right now here. PIBC is the big group that was supposedly the Big Blue Donut. They don't own everything all now. It's like, guys, I mean, we know how we can tell what you guys were going to do to win the war from the beginning. You get more people. That's your only strategy. Your only strategy has ever been more people. And now,
but this time they don't have their dark money, so now they're worried about their wallets, and they don't want to risk their big toys because they can lose them because they do that every time they have a real fight. We murder them. They lose their Titans consistently. Like if you look at the galactic record for super capital fights, the Imperium, generally speaking, is the one that wins it, right? Like we do have, like Operation Inho didn't work. We lost some Titans there. I'm not going to say we're always going to win all of the Titan fights, but we've got a pretty good fucking track record going back the last however long. And now with all this, they are trying to mitigate the risk. They don't have the infinite casino money.
Exactly.
Scarcity is coming down the pike. And lo and behold, these guys don't want to risk any of their Titans because they're hoping that we will magically go away, that we will simply, I don't know, quit the game or something or other, which incidentally isn't very, just throwing this out here, guys, because I do check the temperature of how mad the puppies are. You know, I go to R-Eve and I look through the comments. And generally speaking, when I see people screeching about the wizard hat, I know that the puppies are fussed, right? I know that it's going well. And the more that they talk about how they hate me or how awful of a human being I am, or how they really want to get rid of the Mittani and then it'll be okay, that is profoundly motivating. That is one of the things that really inspires me to get up in the morning and make sure that everything that they know and love is taken away from them in the video game of EVE Online. And if what they really want is acknowledgement or some kind of validation from us, that just inspires me to make sure that they never, ever get it. So for example, if you are looking at all of this and you're going, gosh, I'm sick of hearing about the casino war, then I just talk about it more. It's the same kind of thing. And that's what we're seeing here is these guys are just like, fuck, they just don't get it. But anyway, it's annoying. I'm glad that they are angry and unsatisfied. I'm glad that they hate being called a bunch of blue donut serenity loving cowards. I'm glad about all of that because I know that they'll never be able to get what they really want from us, which is an acknowledgement or validation of anything that they have attempted to do in this last year.
And when it comes down to it, the fundamental thing is their whole strategy this entire war has been numbers. It's all been numbers. Everything's about numbers. We're going to bring bigger numbers. We're going to have more people. That's how we're going to beat it.
If you're expecting a massive fight, then I think you will be disappointed.
But they're finally getting down to the final stage of the war where this is the make or break time because this is like baseball. You're winning till you're not.
Weak.
And the one time that they can't use numbers is now. And the result is we're hearing nothing. We're not seeing anything. This entire Horde town hall, the tone, the tenor of everything that I saw coming out of this is they have no idea how they're going to break 1DQ. They're talking about harassment campaigns and dropping Asbel. Have they seen? I mean, it makes me think Goblins has never been in 1DQ. Have you not seen that grid? Do you not know what you're going to have to do when you get there? Come on, guy.
Yeah.
It just,
I hope they try. I hope they try. Like, it would be nice because, like, one of the things that's been happening for me, like, I didn't take any breaks. War-wise, I didn't have any real time off since the start of the war until after the end of M2. So it wasn't really until, like, was it? Where was it in February? Time's a fucking blur. Anyway, when M2 ended, finally, then shortly thereafter, I managed to get my vaccine shot, the first one a few weeks ago. And in March, we started doing, like, I was like, okay, well, things are relatively quiet now. Things are doing their thing. I need to spend some time on myself. So I spent like 25 grand on upgrades for my house. I bought a massage chair. I bought some theater seats. I bought a whole bunch of toys. We've been lots of fun things like that. And then to sort of come up for air and go like, okay, guys, I had my little break. We got all these cool fancy toys. I have Snuggies now, which I'm very excited about. Oh, okay. So Gobbins is giving a town hall talking about how they're not going to bring supers into 1DQ1 and starting it off with, if you are expecting a massive fight, then I think you will be disappointed. That sums up Piss P perfectly. All of them, right? I mean, you spend almost a year doing this, and when it comes time to fuck or walk, you say that just to warn everybody in advance that they're going to go with the littlest dick bitch, low risk way of trying to end the longest war in the history of Eve. It is perfectly on brand for a bunch of little dick bitches. Right?
That's the thing. I think
it fits. It's consistent. For almost a year, they have been consistently eager to be little dick bitches. And every time they actually get in a real fight, we cut that thing off.
Mark, do you think this is why the war is going to end is with this whimper? Kind of a whimper.
Who can forget when Leonidas turned to the Spartans and said, if you're expecting a big fight, you're going to be disappointed. I mean, you want to turn a man into a mountain. That's exactly music to my ears. Here's how I look at it, right? As Anominate said, it is only fair to say we did not want to lose our space. We did not want to lose all those keep stars. We did, right? Check the box. The box is checked. You've done that. And obviously, with the numbers you had, I'm really not gonna fluff you too much on that one because it's impressive, but it's not that impressive when you get the entire game to form a union of the kids who called the cops on fucking cool high school parties, right? Like you heard that the cheerleader that you were after was coming to our party and you knew you better not show your fucking face at that party. It's not safe for you. What do? You call the cops, right? Because if you can't go, nobody can. That's the situation that we're in. I want to give these guys an out, right? You want to just say, boy, let's all pretend you didn't say the litany of stupid shit along the way that you did about, we're going to exterminate goons and all that stuff. We'll let it fly, right? We can let it all come to pass. So how do you get out of this? At what point? I mean, are they just going to flop into 1DQ a couple times all flaccid and just like, well, we got to give it a go, right? We said we'd go after him. We might as well do it. There's nothing else going on. What? That's it? That's how this is all going to end, is with a whimper and a couple of half-ass attempts at the most fortified system in EVE Online. Our people have just taken the last 90 days off. We've got Smasher in fucking cryo sleep out back, ready to go, baby. Come to 1DQ. He'll be there. He's ready for you. And you guys have just been doing this endless structure grind. Get the Leshaks out. Let's go burn down Athenor number 375 this week. We're all kind of ready. We're rested. We're just eager to get through the foreplay into what comes next. And I don't know how it can... What happens, right? I mean, all we're talking about, we just got done with 30 minutes of math homework about how the server is going to catch on fucking fire. What's going to happen now? Where do we go from here, gentlemen? I
mean, if they win, if they succeed in burning down 1DQ1, then we're free to go immediately revenge rampage, right? Like, this is the other thing. It's like, okay, well, if they win, then this is over. 1DQ1 burns, and then we pick ourselves up and we move to the group that we want to murder first, and then we stage right by them, right? Either that, or they try, and what was most likely is going to happen, because knowing we're going into the defense of 1DQ1 with, if you're expecting a massive fight, then I think you will be disappointed. We're not going to be bringing supers in, blah, 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 nodes whining, just all this shit from the Horde Town Hall that I thought was going to be sort of significant. Like, I don't think they're going to do it. But if they did do it, then, okay, great. You finally bring it to a conclusion and, put something on the field, and then we get to play our cards, right? Then we get to go see what Goonswarm and the Imperium is going to do next. But what I think is going to happen is these people are going to come into 1DQ1. We're going to kick their fucking asses. They're going to cry about it and blame CCP like a bunch of little bitches, because that's all they ever do when we kick their asses. Is they whine, oh, Matani man bad. Oh, I wish the Matani, he's so toxic because he doesn't take me seriously. That's right, I don't take you seriously. I don't take puppies seriously because you do shit like this. And then you cry like bitches when you are called out for the very things that you are responsible for. Anyway, fuck them.
It's Goon's fault for bringing enough people to crash the node when we're outnumbered.
They had to blew 103 alliances because Goons were turning things into Serenity, because we're not going to use any real fights to try to go after 1DQ1. But we're totally, I don't even know what the fuck these people tell themselves. I mean, I read it, but I don't understand it. Like,
no, you want to know what you want to tell themselves? We killed another structure today. We're really hurting these guys. This is how we're going to win the war. I mean,
back when a Keepstar cost 3 Titans, that would be a little bit different. But now that we're looking at, that's the other thing about this that's so dumb.
Half a Titan now, maybe for a Keepstar?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if a fucking Keepstar, if CCP can't figure out where they want the, Merkelchin's going to tune out here because we're back to talking about math and spreadsheets. But what really matters, like the big CPI indicator for strategic might, is how many nukes you got. And in Eve, that's how many Titans you got, how fast can you build them, what can you do with them? They're the strategic forces. So, that price indicator matters, even in my world.
Well, I think there's a problem going on here, which is Pappy is fighting a war of several years ago. They're not fighting a war in the Citadel era. Well, so, imagine they get what they want. They completely wipe out 1DQ. Goons don't have any Keepstars anywhere. All of our super capitals, which are now worth literally 10 times what some of us paid for them.
So ridiculous. I don't even know if I should complain about that.
Safely to low sec, where we can park them in complete safety as long as we need to. And from there, we can go on whatever revenge campaign we want. They're like, nobody in Goonswarm is like facing any serious risk of a major loss here. Like, our worst case scenario is that we get teleported to low sec and move somewhere else. Like, that's the worst case scenario.
How the hell is he going to motivate people to attack 1DQ1 if he's starting with, if you're expecting a massive fight, then I think you'll be disappointed. Like, imagine if I gave a State of the Union to rile people up, and my first response saying, everybody together, this is very important, you're gonna be disappointed, things are gonna be awful, it's gonna be like, wow. I mean,
and that's a great segue into what I wanted to talk about next, because Merc and Nam, well, Merc, you're not gonna like it, Nam is gonna love it, Mittens may like it. I got graphs and shit.
Okay, let's see it.
We got graphs and shit. So they absolutely need to raise their morale and get people excited, because activity levels across every war participant over the last couple of weeks have been in the toilet compared to other points of the war. All right. The fact is, there's not a whole hell of a lot going on, and trying to get people to log in for structure bashes. Yeah, everybody's getting their Keepstar kills, but they're not getting the numbers that they got at the beginning. And I'm going to walk you through it, because we had a new great post this morning from Norman, our Norman, from Init, who is great at doing all this stuff and has put these numbers together. So let me show you first of all. So this is the graph of all the PvP activity in all of EVE since the start of 2020. Now, right here, this is April. That is the start of COVID. That's the lockdown in April. We saw a little bump up here right before the war started. Then boom, World War B starts here. Okay. The numbers go down, and then we hit the FWST, and they go back up. And then they go really down because we got into this boring part that they were doing the last time with these super safe Keepstar kills. And then boom, M2, the numbers jack back up. We get a little bit of a boop here. I think that was the first time that they tried to come into 1DQ after the breakout. And then now the numbers are back. They're tanking again, because it's so goddamn boring.
That's
what
kind
these
of
guys
a sharp
are doing.
Decline there at the end there. Like, you see
exactly.
The very last data
it's
point
headed down.
there,
it's
like
headed down to pre-war levels. It is below the start. This is the lowest it's been since like
it's
January 12th.
Like it or not, everybody on every side of the war knows that the war, the next step is 1DQ. That's it. Like,
exactly.
Nothing outside of 1DQ matters at this point, and it's just a matter of Pappy needs to get their shit together and either shit or get off the pot.
All right, so the next slide I got here, this is the PvP numbers since the start of the war, since the beginning of the year, since the beginning of 2020, all through up till today. All right, so what you got here is, you see, this is peacetime. This is all peacetime. It's pretty normal. People are out fighting and doing their thing. The war starts, big spike. The purple line here is Goons. The blue line is Pandemic Horde. Orange is Test. Brave is the little Goldilocks. The green here is Init and Initiative Mercenaries, and then the blue is NC Dot. They go back and forth. Init's kind of sliding down a little bit. We kind of ended our major deployment here right now. We are resting, so there's nothing going on down here. You can see the numbers go up and down. Our numbers peak at FWC the first time, and so do theirs. And then M2, our numbers go off the charts. Their numbers peak, and then their numbers dropped while our numbers stayed high. Now everybody's numbers are trending down again because there's nothing happening. It's boring as shit.
I'm waiting for the next massive fight, so I guess if I'm expecting a massive fight, I think I'll be disappointed.
You're going to be disappointed. So if you look, so that's the broken out alliance side. If you want to look at it from the whole, from the coalition side, rather than, this is Imperium and then the other major coalitions. Here's the same thing. Not a lot different on it, but you can see Imperium numbers are pretty solid, but the Pappy numbers and the Legacy numbers are here. Winter numbers, honestly, they're back to pre-war levels. They don't give a shit. They're not, I mean, Fraternity and the rest of Winter Coalition are acting like the war isn't even happening. Their numbers are so crap. So obviously, it seems to us, it's pretty clear what these guys are doing. They are out up in Vale, and they're crabbing. Like
Titans
crazy.
Cost more than Keepstars now. At least that's what it looks like.
So they're making their bank.
The strategic dynamic of the war, right? Like that is probably one of the most fundamental background factors in this is the risk versus reward of offense and the cost incurred by both sides. Defenders have a big advantage in terms of force multiplier effects. It's usually cheaper to be on D, and our strategy from the beginning of the war, which going back since July or whatever. Last year was kill the Titans, 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 at every opportunity, kill the Titans. And Pappy's version has been avoid Titan fights. Oh wait, we fucked up in M2. Oops, we got our tiny little dicks cut off and humiliated in front of the entire gaming world, and now back to just pure coward jammer stuff. And now in the mix of this, suddenly it looks like Titan prices are going to the fucking moon. And we don't know where that moon is. Maybe it's our moon. Maybe it's a moon in fucking Jupiter because they're doing CCP stuff. And that regulatory risk is, I think, I could shit on Pappy. I can shit on whatever Gobbins just said here. But realistically speaking, if you're wondering what CCP is going to do next and you don't know what the price of a Titan is going to be, do you really want to shove those into the garbage disposal, which is 1DQ1? Because if they try to bring their Titans and their Supers in there, that is what we are waiting for, hoping for. I don't think they'll do it, but if they do, holy fuck, that's the dream. That's the fucking dream, which is why I guess he's saying you're going to be disappointed. Also, the dog, can you guys, hopefully you can't hear the dog.
Oh yeah, we can hear him.
I thought this was a professional stream, and honestly, that makes me think of one other thing. Brisk, if you cover my face up with another fucking graph, I'm going to lose my mind.
Oh, don't start with me. My face was half covered up too.
You are safely on the periphery over there in the gated neighborhood.
Why do you think I do that?
Show, yeah, whatever. That's fine. It's kind of hard. There's sort of two realities here, right? Put yourself in the shoes of a Pappy person, if you will, for a moment. Once you've wiped the drool off your chin, I want you to think about what you've been doing for the last year and how you have blown up a lot of the things you said you were going to blow up. You rolled a lot of the space that you said you were going to roll. We've been talking shit about you all the while, and you just kind of put your head down and got the job done, right? You are looking at your campaign to date as extremely successful. And I would tend to agree with you because as an alliance and a corp leader, you blew up a bunch of shit that we paid for, right? That's not good for us. But on the other hand, now you try to do that the other way around. The entire game attacked your coalition, the Imperium. You have survived this long, a war that in the early days when they saw the 150,000 people starting to descend from every direction onto our regions, and they were going to news outlets with such bravado, about, boy, this one's, woo, it's over.
This is
for
a
the
war
Goonies.
of annihilation.
We're going to get rid of these dicks, right? So think about how we feel at this point. None of that happened. Our coalition has held together remarkably well. There are little hiccups along the way. This happens to every group. All of the major corporations within GSF are still there. Corporations like mine are not noticing any difference in login numbers, things like that. How can you then, as a person on the other side of this conflict, not look over the battlefield with some measure of respect at what your adversary has done to date? I am acknowledging your successes. I wish you guys would do a little bit better job of acknowledging ours. So while you're sitting there talking shit about, why aren't you all coming after them? Why aren't you defending this Athenor? Because we are so eager to get to the end of this fucking war. And if what you need to do is blow up all those little structures, the only reason we are going to come out to them is to help blow them up with you faster, because we're tired of this.
They clearly need help. Like they need some encouragement. I don't know why they're so insecure about maybe attacking, various inadequacies, but maybe we could hold their hand in some way. That they need maybe a life coach or something to get this thing to some kind of a conclusion, because yikes, it's like just go up and talk to her. Just go up and hit on just get up there and see what happens.
She
and if
says
you
is
strike
no.
out, and if she says no and it doesn't work, then you can move on with your life. But just stop sitting there like a fucking coward on the walls and make a fucking move.
Right.
And don't start with, hey baby, if you're expecting a massive fight, you'll be disappointed.
Yeah. I just, if the thing that sort of gets me now and where we've arrived at in the conflict is, they're just like, well, you cowards are just kind of hiding there in 1DQ. True, right? Like, true. We are just sitting in 1DQ because we know all roads leave there, and that's where this thing ends. So we are just sitting there waiting for it to happen, for better or worse. I've talked to my people. I've set their expectations. I don't think we're going to lose it, but if we do, we're going to be okay, kids, right? We got insurance. So I just, it's really easy to be like, we've got 800 people in hack fleets. The goons have 175 jackdaws. Why won't those pussies come fight us? Like, really, dude? You ever sat on the other side of that one? Is that what you would do? Because that's an awesome way to get the lights shut off very prematurely. And you happen to be talking to the masters of fucking survival. We do not need your advice here. We've proven it to date, right? We can survive forever. And you know what's crazy? When you get a little bit froggy and you lean a little too far over your skis, we'll make you fucking pay for it. That's the beauty of this thing. We can turn it on, boom, just like that. We've done it before. You saw it in M2. You may see it again, So there just needs to be sort of a little bit more understanding. I think it would be helpful, as I am the consensus factory, for both groups to kind of consider for a moment what the other groups have done to date, because it is, in its entirety and its totality, pretty impressive. It's been a hell of a war. It's ending on a snoozer, but it was pretty wild, the amount of destruction.
I think all anybody's going to remember if they go the Gobbins route. And we've made conciliatory noises on the Meta Show before. Like many months ago, I even said that if Horde wanted a gold star for glassing so many structures, we'd give it to them. But they're not interested in that. They're interested in turbo diving into disappointment. Gobbins has chosen that they are not interested in any kind of anything other than whatever the fuck they're doing. And that's great and all. That was months ago, but it seems like they are really absolutely committed to just slouching towards mediocrity. And all anybody is going to remember at the end of this fucking thing is going to be, oh, wait, who won M2 and how many Titans does anybody have left over in a scarcity environment where Titans cost a lot? And you can come into 1DQ1, and if you don't pick a fucking Titan fight in 1DQ1, I don't the M2, I want to remind everybody, M2 happened because one of our heroic newbies managed to pause a jammer. They did not want to fight in M2. They wanted to do the jammer coward strategy that they have done this entire time. So we do want to make them trip over their skis and goose these guys and mess them up. But we are doing that only in situations where they fuck up their coward strategy. And so if this ends up with a fizzle, because Gobbin says, if you're expecting a massive fight, then I think you'll be disappointed. The fizzle results in all anybody's going to remember is M2. I'm cool with it.
That's the point, though, guys. Think about it this way. All right. Imagine you are in Pappy. And I liked Mark's thing. Like, after you're done imagining that, wipe the drool off your chin. That was cute. I thought that was funny. Imagine you're in Pappy, and you look back on over almost a year of war. What are the two things that everybody remembers? They remember the big Keepstar fights in NPC Delve, where we suicided Ravens into that thing and made it and died and killed 4 of them in a row. They remember FWST, which was the Guinness World Record fight. Who won that fight?
Inho.
Imperium.
Mm-hmm.
Then what do they remember next? M2. Who won that fight? Imperium.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't argue. You can say, well, the first fight, we traded pretty even. You know what?
We won that.
We won that. And you know what? That Keepstar lived a month after it should have been dead. And we won the next fight hands down, and everybody admits it. So the two most memorable things that this war will be remembered for are Imperium victories.
It's because we're the fucking protagonists, baby.
And so I just have to ask, like, guys, do you honestly think that if you guys don't come into 1DQ and you just decide you're going to sit here and wait for us, that somebody is going to be out there thinking in 5 or 6 years, man, one of the best times I had in EVE was when we killed that 37th crab star they had in Delve. Man, that shit was great. We sat there for a half an hour. And I was in my Titan now. It was so fucking cool. Nobody's going to say that. You guys got to come into 1DQ. If you don't do it, you're going to lose the war.
Mittens,
and that's the bottom line.
That one time where I forget what you were doing. I think you might have been moving or something like that. And you were just like, hey guys, this is very early in the war. They were getting close though. They were starting to scratch Delve. And you're like, just hold shit together for a week. I think that's what was going on. But I don't remember exactly what it was. You went away, came back. We had just mulched 4 Keepstars on their anchor timers.
It was insane. I went to Michigan to have a week vacation for the first time I was going to have a vacation of the course of this war. And it was like July-ish or something. I don't know, whatever. It was sometime in 2020. But fuck, I can't even remember.
We were rolling sticky in $100 bills and burning it like an inferno. And it was unbelievable. The entire strategy revolved around, are we out of money yet? No. Warp in more dreads. Are we out of money yet? No. All right. Warp in more dreads. And I remember after the second one of the finance guys was like, look, y'all got to fucking cool it and like find a new way to blow up Keepstars because this shit isn't going to fly. And then on the next 2, we spent triple the amount of money. It was like, you have no idea how foolish we are prepared to be.
We are prepared to be as foolish as is the limit of the capacities that we have. And, I'm glad that the finance team got with the program and figured out a way to make, I would like to say, probably the only really successful war bond securitization program that any of the involved parties got off the ground, such that we could go back to being insane and just throwing dreadnoughts or whatever, because sometimes you just say, we just do what it takes. If you're not a little dick bitch coward, sometimes you say, all right, we're all in, right? Sometimes you just got to shove all your chips in the fucking table and play the way things pan out. And that's how we roll. And, then you ask finance to find a way to make the ISK work out and go from there.
The impressive thing to me about those Keepstar kills is that, we were using dreadnoughts as ammunition. Like we had,
ships are ammo, man.
The fleet commanders were like, all right, you and the dreadnought, you're going next. You're going into the meat grinder. You're going to last 60 seconds, but your job is to get that 60 seconds worth of damage in. I am one after the other, and the line of people lining ready up to be fired in next never got any shorter.
People were lining up to throw their dreads. I did it. I mean, I'll be honest. The 2 of the proudest moments I have during this war, besides all the meta shows that we've done and the 14-hour streams and stuff. I lost 5 Ravens over the course of that week on the kills on those Keepstars. I lost a Dread in FWST. I lost a Titan in M2. It's not about what I killed, it's what I lost. I was there, I put my dick on the table, we fought, I lost stuff, and we're still out here, we're still going. And that I think is pretty considerable. And I think one of the things the bads did not take into account is they honestly thought that, as has happened in every major war before, one solid shove of these big groups will show they're really just this rotted out core, and it's a fake statue, and it's hollow on the inside. And they came up and they pushed against something that was made of solid oak, and we haven't moved.
I think there's a big cultural difference between us and the rest of the game when it comes to capitals and supers, and you can see it in chat, and you can see it in what Brisk is saying, and you can see it in the way that goons talk about, how they lost a ship in a big fight. The reason that goons buy super capitals is so they can die gloriously in combat. Well, most of the rest of the game, the reason they buy super capitals is because it gives them social standing within their group.
Yeah.
I don't think you're nothing till you lost one. Don't talk about how you have a Titan. Talk to me after you lost one.
Exactly.
You guys remember, like there was a moment where the fleet commanders or the super FCs who were muscling us through the second or third one, where I'll never forget it. Where maybe it was Asher or somebody like that turns to the group and it's like, all right, get the morose pilots up. It's their time. and the dudes who hadn't used their morose in 10 years leap off of the bench and are just like, put me in, coach. I'm going into the blender. This thing hasn't been insured in over 10,000 days, but this
ugly ass thing has been keeping up space. I got to get rid of it.
Oh my God. Yeah. So it was nice. We got to convert a bunch of those into preferable ships, but it was funny. They had their day and it was pretty glorious to watch.
Oh my God.
All right, everybody.
Yeah.
We have come to the natural end, I think, of the show. We had a pretty solid week. We talked numbers. We talked about Horde's Town Hall and how much of a non-event it was. We talked a lot of shit. We talked a little bit about, potentially what's going to happen. Hopefully your morale has been improved a little bit. I'm happy we had a show because I was worried that this war has been so boring. We've been running out of material, so I'm glad we had enough herfs to blur for this whole hour. Made me nervous.
Hey, baby, if you're expecting something massive, I think you'll be disappointed.
That's like the best pickup line in the bar ever. Would you say that?
Hey, baby, if you're expecting a massive fight, I bet you'll be disappointed. That's a fucking winning line. Holy fuck, what a bunch of bitches. Are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? He just said this. There was recordings. He said this. He chose to say these things in
we
public.
Gotta get this. I didn't have time to get the sound clips up for the show. Maybe we'll have them for next week.
I mean, this should be framed. This is, if anybody asks what Pappy is like, just have them listen to this fucking Gobbins Town Hall. It does what it says on the tin. It's a feature, not a bug. They're behaving exactly as they want to behave. They are responsible for all of the little dick bitch cowardice shit that they have been doing. When they bring it, bad shit happens. I'm hoping that I make fun of them enough. Maybe they'll be able to find some balls. Maybe they should start wearing Snuggies on live TV too, because it makes it a little bit easier. I got nothing. Fuck this noise. Fuck these puppies. I'm good. We're done.
There we go. And so my final word. Do you guys have any final words? Nom nom, Perk, to end the show.
I can say something here. Please, just set us free. Whatever it is, win, lose, or draw. Would you people get this fucking over with already? It's getting embarrassing. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Nom nom.
I mean, kind of the same thing. Like this war ends in one DQ, one way or another. It doesn't end until we get there. So, like, nobody is winning by dragging this shit out.
Bring it, bitches.
All right, everybody. Thank you for watching. This has been the Meta Show for Saturday, April the 24th. For everybody out there who says we give Billy a hard time, Gobbins, sorry, dude. It was your turn. I hope you enjoy it. We will see you guys all next week, potentially. If anything happens, we'll cover that. If not, we should have a good show.
We're going to do an economic special next week, so be
special.
ready for that. We're gonna have a panel of guests. I will be wearing real clothes, not a Snuggie, and we're going to dive into this whole CPI thing. And somebody's going to try to put a real price on a fucking Titan so we can figure out what the fuck CCP is doing in the middle of all this. So, yeah, guys, thanks for watching, and we will we'll do this next week.
All right, everybody. Have a good afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. You stay classy. New week.